I was 35, had not finished college, moved to LA to be an actress, and was just this awful heroin addict and cocaine addict and had Hep C and all this stuff. And so there goes like the marriage ideas. I thought, obviously not gonna have kids now, you know, like none of that stuff is possible. Therefore, I'm always gonna be a loser. All I ever thought about was what I didn't have, you know, compared to everybody else in my life. And it was like this incredible moment where I was like, wait, did my heroin addiction, which took everything from me, leave me grateful for absolutely everything?
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Journey to Solutions podcast, where we interview people from all walks of life who overcome the impossible. We shine light on one simple truth: no matter your past, no matter your pain, with the power of God, anything is possible. And today I have a special guest who I know personally, and she's just an amazing woman. She's genuine, she's funny, she's real, she's raw, and she has a heart for the people. She is the host, and also you started the Chasing Heroine Podcast, which is an amazing podcast, guys. So check it out. She interviews people's stories, and she makes it about the people, which I love. A lot of people interview people, and they make it about them, forgetting that the guest is the most important person. She was also just on Soft White Underbelly, which is the #1 YouTube channel in the world for storytelling, especially for people like us who are recovering addicts with wild stories. She's a gym owner. Or was a gym owner.
Now I manage one.
Now you manage one, right? For cycling, guys. And you know that. I don't know about you guys, but I've tried cycling, and that is intense.
Yeah.
And how much time do you have sober now?
10 and a half years.
10 and a half years sober.
And the TED Talk you were going to bring.
And that was my next one, right?
I got to throw that out there. It's not out
just
yet,
in case,
though.
right?
It's
Just in
taking
case.
forever. But also into it.
Yeah.
It means so much to me that you drove down there for that TED Talk.
Of course.
When I saw you from the stage, I was like, because everybody says they're going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you were sitting there. You drove all the way down there, like, by yourself to support me. It meant the world to me that you did that.
And I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's, from my experience, it's really important to go out of our way for people that go out of the way for you.
Right.
I'm very good at like observing, like, okay, you spoke at my event. You've had me on your podcast. You've showed up to something. I know you got to drive.
Right.
So I'm going to make the drive.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Well, I appreciate that. I was so happy to have you there.
Yeah. And you know, I think doing a TED Talk, that's amazing. Let's start right there.
Okay.
How was it for you to be able to have the opportunity to do a TED Talk? Like, what was that like for you?
I mean, it was incredible. So it made me feel validated as a speaker, I think.
Yeah. And
I've always known that I'm good at that. That's a skill set of mine, is speaking. I did debate in high school, and I was good at debate, and I've always known I was good at that, right? People like when I speak at meetings. But to be invited to speak at that level, and it's a process to get invited. You send a video, and then they interview you, and it's a team of people that are interviewing you and watching your video. And do we think that this is going to actually match the TEDx guidelines?
So when you submit a video, do you have to like submit the video in the format that TED Talks are in? Or you like how do you kind of go about?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it was, they didn't give me a timeline, but they asked me to walk through. So they give you a subject for the conference, right? And the conference subject this time was repetition. And so within the framework of repetition, you have to bring to them a subject that you are knowledgeable in, but also fits under the guideline of repetition, which is interesting. And I actually applied once a few years ago, and the guideline was constellations, but not necessarily astrological constellations or like astronomy. The constellations, it could be, but the constellations of our lives and our relationships, basically however you want to interpret it, but it has to fall under this conference heading, which also presents an additional challenge. And so with repetition, that's why, I don't know if you remember, I had those quotes that sort of built on each other, but all of that ultimately was just to get to my message of post-traumatic growth, which, you know, is one of the things I talk about a lot, but I had to build it on this platform of repetition.
And what is post-traumatic growth for people who don't know what that means?
So post-traumatic growth is a psychological phenomenon that can happen to somebody after a traumatic event or a challenging event, where you actually come away from the event better as a result of the event, and you feel that your life is better as a direct result of the event, right? And everyone has heard of post-traumatic stress, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows about that, and that's typically what people think of. And you know, I always give this example, like when men and women are in the service and they're going off to, you know, a combat situation overseas, they're told, okay, they're prepared. You're going to come back one of two ways. You're going to come back status quo, the way that you are, or you're going to come back damaged. We want status quo. We're going to prepare you to come back as you are. But there's a third, less talked about way to come back from trauma, which is that you can actually come back from trauma better. And that's the post-traumatic growth scenario.
So how does somebody get the positive effect versus a negative effect? Because I think most people, we see the negative, right? Always. It's very common. How does somebody see it in a positive way to actually grow from it?
So there's actually a process, and this is what my video submission was. I inadvertently went through the process because actually recovery sets up this process without you even knowing. And these are the steps of post-traumatic growth. Disruption of a narrative, and then I can break them down after this too. Disruption of a narrative, emotional regulation, disclosure, service, and creating a new narrative. And I had accidentally done that so disruption of the narrative. My narrative was like, what did the trauma disturb, right? My narrative was the only way to be a successful adult is to graduate from high school doing really well, graduate from a good college, not just your local community, but a good college, and disruption of a core belief, not narrative. And a core belief is something that's really deeply ingrained in us. And these were ingrained in me. And I'm sure you'll have some too, right? And like everybody has their own core beliefs. Mine were the good college, postgraduate education. I mean, like law school or whatever, be a homeowner, get married. And you need to do that in your 20s, right? And that is the only way by which to show that you're a successful adult. And that was my core belief.
And did you develop those beliefs based on what you thought was right from what you saw, or were you kind of told that growing up by the people around you?
Both.
Okay.
You know, I grew up in an affluent neighborhood. Everybody that lived there in Georgia and everyone that lived there worked for the airlines, just about 90% of the people that lived there. It was an airline community. And so as a result of that, everybody flies for free. In those days, you could actually fly for free. And we would even fly first class because my dad was a pilot. And so as a kid, I was like flying first class to go skiing in Salt Lake City when I was in like 5th grade. That is an incredible privilege, right? And to me, I thought that was just how life had to be, and that it was going to be that way for me as well. Both of my parents went on to get master's degrees as well. And everybody in that town grew up with the belief that you would go to college. You know, you were popular in my school if you were smart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The smart was popular.
Yeah. I mean, and there was a balance. Obviously, also cheerleaders in my school were like really popular. It is the South. But also the smartest kids were really popular. You know, like if you took a bunch of AP classes and did well on your SATs, like that's who people, it was a good thing, I guess.
That's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's a positive thing, of course.
I know at least out here, right, or at least Orange County where I grew up, it's opposite.
It's opposite.
Right?
Yeah, of course. And there were definitely, there were like the outlaw kids but even for us, all they did was smoke weed. And that was like terrible for us. And I know in other high schools, sometimes they're like, doing coke and shit. Yeah. We definitely didn't do that.
Yeah.
And there was and they would drink some beer, but like they all graduated high school. Nobody dropped out or anything. You know what I mean? It was just like everybody was on the same set track. And so it was both, I think, a cultural influence, environmental influence, and, what was within my family too. And the interesting thing too is my parents were they were really supportive of anything we wanted to do. But a part of that definitely was the messaging that I, in particular, should go to college because I was smart,
So you're a smart kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
Like smart as in like straight A's or?
Like smart, like high IQ. I did really well on my SATs. I took all those AP classes.
Were you like that? Were you that kid that was like naturally smart? You know, some kids like they don't really like to study, and like for some reason you're able to take in everything.
Yeah.
And, like, okay.
Well, I have a photographic memory and a deidetic memory.
What's a deidetic memory?
It means I also remember every word of things. So like you and I can, like I remember specific moments from our first podcast that we did years ago with Narcan Nate. I remember him asking you about your tattoo and if you were stoned when you got it. I remember there was a guy walking around in the background who was really in shape. Remember that?
Yeah, really.
And I was like, why is there some hot guy in the background of who is that? And you guys started laughing. Like I remember you took the time with me to like give me therapy about being late.
Yeah.
I was late today, guys. Yeah. Although, actually, in my defense, there was actually an accident. That's why I was sending you pictures. But anyways, I remember all that. So deidetic is also like words and visuals.
Okay.
So yeah, so
I might have that then too.
Yeah, you may if you remember things really well.
Really well.
Yeah, like what people said, and you're usually not wrong. Yeah. Sure, of course, occasionally I'm wrong.
Because people are mostly shocked. Like, how do you remember that about me? Like, I'll ask them something personal, like what they told me.
Yes. Yeah. Because you remembered that too. You also remembered that we spent some time talking about like my time management and balance. You actually remembered that too when we spoke about it. So you're right. Because I guarantee you, Narcan Nate would not. He wouldn't remember any of that. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that. Yeah, exactly. And I don't even mean that in a disparaging way. Most people wouldn't, you know? Yeah. So I did have all of that kind of stuff. So that created this core belief supported by everything around me that's the only way to live.
That's success to you,
yes,
right?
That is
life.
success.
That's what you go for.
Yeah. If you don't finish college, come on. And the fuck are you going to do?
And when you're living in Georgia, like, do people enjoy, or at least for you when you were growing up, was like California on the radar for you people out there? Like, people like, oh, I want to go to California, look at LA. Like, is that like a thing out there?
It was for me.
Okay.
I don't think it was for anyone else. I had this real strong desire to move here. Yeah. I think a lot of it's funny that you asked me that. We painted, it's still there, in the middle of our bus stop at my elementary school, at Huddleston Elementary School. We painted a big map of the United States. And it was like a whole 5th grade class project. And I wanted to paint California. And I painted it pink. And I was like, I had to be the one. And I remember painting California pink. And I remember after it dried, I remember going out there and sitting on it and thinking like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Wow, so elementary school.
Isn't that weird? Yeah. But I also, though, too, my dad was in the Air Force. So I didn't get there until 5th grade. So I had lived in California when I was like 5. Really young, though. I didn't remember. Sacramento. Right. I lived in the Philippines. I grew up in the Philippines.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, right. Which was like the coolest thing ever, that I got to grow up in the jungle.
What age was that in the Philippines?
That was 6 to 8 or 9, 5 to like 8. We lived there for 3 years.
And you kind of have.
But I remember it really well.
Memories of that. Okay.
Yeah, I remember it really well. It was amazing. It was terrifying, but amazing. Like like there was cobras everywhere. Before you go to bed, you had to look at the bottom to make sure there wasn't a snake under there.
Oh, wow.
Like I got bit by something when I was in kindergarten, and my legs, they still don't even know what it was. My whole right leg swelled up, and they thought I was going to be in a wheelchair the rest of my life.
Wow.
And they think it was some weird poisonous spider. It was the jungle. There was monkeys and trees. My brother and I could have got kidnapped at any point in time because my dad was an officer. Like we were in grave danger all the time. And I didn't really know as a kid, but my mom knew. But it was amazing. We could climb trees. It was so fun. It was literally the jungle. It was like the most fun place ever, you know? But so core belief became, this is how you live, right? Yeah. And so the first part of the process is a disruption of that core belief. You know, the idea that, well, maybe that isn't right. Maybe I can be happy another way. And so say something, you know, some other trauma that happened. Okay, we'll use you if that's okay as an example. Obviously, you know, people that know you know what happened to you when you were a little kid, right? And so your core belief could have been 2 things. One of them could have been nothing like that ever happens. You know, if that happens to me, I'm ruined as a person, right? I'm ruined as a husband. You know, you might have believed that. So the first thing that happens is a disruption of that belief. Or your belief prior to that could have been, you know, who knows what kind of belief you had. And then when that happened, it threw you off of that forever, you know? And so at some point you also had to come to the place where you're like, well, maybe that core belief isn't actually true. Like, let me reassess this. And it starts there. And for me, the way it started was I was, you know, 35 and had not finished college, right? Moved to LA to be an actress and was just this awful heroin addict and cocaine addict and had Hep C and all this stuff. And so there goes like the marriage ideas. I thought, like obviously not going to have kids now, like none of that stuff is possible. Therefore, I'm always going to be a loser. And I was doing this meditation at my sober living. And I had nothing, I couldn't get a bank account because I was in check systems. I'd been homeless at that point for like 5 years. I looked terrible. I was beat up. I definitely didn't have a license or a car. Like, it is crazy to me when people come in with like an iPhone. You see that? Like, I would be like, my rehab would take us to meetings and I would see somebody with an iPhone and then they would raise their hand as a newcomer. And I'm like, why are you here?
Yeah.
You could buy another bag of heroin with that iPhone. What are you doing with that iPhone? You drove here? That was not my story. Never had a phone. That's why I don't have any pictures of myself either, which is kind of annoying. I never had a phone to take a picture, which I realized later all my girlfriends have pictures of themselves looking like shit. I kind of wish I had some,
I know. We'd always laugh when we'd see the new generation addicts. I'm like, you have a phone?
I know. Like, you
got a home you're going to go to?
What do you got a phone?
You got a car waiting for you? I'm like,
my the group of girlfriends that I hang out with, the sober girl group chat, whatever. Like, they were talking once about their favorite TV shows to binge on meth. And I was like, y'all had a TV when you were on meth? I didn't have a TV. I was living outside.
I took apart the TV.
Yeah, she was like, yes, we had a broken TV in the living room that didn't work because my ex had brought it home from a dumpster and he set it in the corner of the room as though it worked, but it didn't. It was broken. It was just decoration, And they always laugh at me and I'm like, I don't know, So this was during that time in the very beginning. I had about 90 days and it was my birthday. I was turning 35.
Okay.
And I was so depressed. I just kept thinking, like, if the ghost of Christmas future, because I'd gotten into George Washington University, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I had a whole plan. I'd done well with debate in school, and I wanted to go to law school in D.C. and then maybe move back to Georgia and get into politics and be like a Supreme Court justice, like big dreams. Wow. And I had a plan, and it was like kind of possible for me that might actually even happen, And obviously none of that did. And now here I was, all of my friends from school, like, did all the stuff. They bought houses and they got married and like they did finish law school, or even if, they just went to regular, undergrad, like they were doing amazing things. And I was in this essentially homeless shelter in Vista on the corner of the world, I didn't do anything that I said I was going to do, and I was turning 35, and something about the weight of that age was just so much. And you know how it is in recovery. People around you are like, yeah, but, you're clean, man. Like, that's what you got to focus on. You're clean today, man.
Yeah.
And like, that's true. And I had 90 days. But I remember thinking, yeah, that's not really doing it for me today, though, because I just kept thinking that if the ghost of Christmas future had floated into the hallway at my high school when I was a senior and had floated down in front of me and my friends Elizabeth and Aaron and said, hey, Jeannine, I have a crystal ball here. Do you want to see where you're going to be at 35? I would have been like, yes, show me. I can't wait to see where I'm going to be at 35. I'm sure I'm going to be married and live in a mansion and, be wealthy and show me. And if the ghost of Christmas future had been like, yeah, no, none of that shit's going to happen. The best thing that you will have going for you that day is that you'll be 90 days off of heroin. Like, if I had been told that was what my future was, I was just so devastated at that, and I couldn't get past it. And I remember going outside to do this meditation, and I was doing a meditation. I was doing a Deepak Chopra Oprah meditation that a client of mine, I'd started teaching again, had given me like free access to. She worked at the Chopra Center. Mm-hmm. So I was doing this meditation, smoking other people's butts out of the ashtrays. I couldn't even afford, cigarettes. And I was smoking somebody else's cigarette, teaching spin, by the way. But whatever. I smoked for a long time.
While
teaching
you're smoking?
spin. I didn't quit smoking until I met Skylar at 37. I smoked that whole time teaching spin. Wow. Isn't that insane? Even in sobriety.
Yeah.
But anyways, and then when I met him, he was like, because, he's a lot younger than me. Yeah. And he was like, nobody smokes anymore. What are you doing? He was like 29. I was like, what?
Do you still smoke? Oh.
Yeah, I know. He was like, that's really gross. Anyways, so I'm doing this meditation, and it was about gratitude. And the quote was, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It makes what we have enough and more. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It makes what we have enough and more. And I did this meditation. And it's actually, I'm sure you've read the book, Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. Yep. It's from her. Finished the meditation, took my headphones out. And I was suddenly overwhelmed with gratitude that I wasn't dope sick, because I'd been strung out on heroin for years. Like the second I open my eyes, I have to get at least $20, and living that way is like living with a time bomb in your own body. And opiate addicts will understand this. It's like this awful place to be where you can't do anything. Like my mom lived here and she would ask me to go to the beach. I never could because I'm like, I don't know how long we're going to be there. I can't go with you. I can't go with you anywhere because I have to make sure I either have heroin or money for heroin, And I'd lived that way for so long. And I was just overcome with gratitude that I didn't need $20 to like take a step or breathe. And I kind of sat with that for a second. And then I noticed, you would have heard me share some of this at my TED Talk too, probably. And then I noticed there was like this really nice view off of the sober living balcony. And I had considered this sober living like rundown, as a homeless person. And I see this view and I was like, man, that is so pretty. It's like this beautiful mountain. And then I thought, and this was such like God's grace that I had any of these thoughts. This was downloaded into my brain from God. There's no way my selfish soul came up with it. No way. And I think this is one of those, I think God gives us the messaging we're going to need to take to people. You know that. You've been downloaded that so many times, like when you realized the whole reason that happened to me is so I could help other people. That was like a download from God. And I had this like download from God where I realized like, wow, that obviously didn't just get there while I was meditating. That's always been there. But I have never seen that view in my life. I've lived here for 3 months and I had lived there 2 other times before that and gotten kicked out for selling heroin out of the laundry room. Never saw that view in my life. And it occurred to me that my gratitude for not being dope sick had like opened up the color of the world to me, because if I really get honest, the high school version of me would never have seen that view either, or the LA version of me didn't notice views. All I ever thought about was what I didn't have, compared to everybody else in my life. And it was like this incredible moment where I was like, wait, did my heroin addiction, which took everything from me, leave me grateful for absolutely everything? And it did. Like all of a sudden, like the bottle of water I had next to me, because I'd been homeless for so long, I was like, man, I'm really glad I have that. And I know that sounds crazy, but like, and I'm really glad I have that water right now. And all of a sudden, it was like the world went from black and white to color as a direct result of my heroin addiction. It had taken me so low that everything around me became really beautiful and valuable. And in that moment, like I didn't have the language for this yet, but in that moment, that was a disruption of the core belief that the only way to be happy was to have X, Y, Z. And I thought, well, I guess maybe that isn't true, because I'm actually way happier right now than I was then when I was going to school, So the first part is the disruption of the core belief. Well, maybe that isn't true. Maybe that belief I had isn't true. And then the second part, and again, I didn't know any of this. The second part is emotional regulation, which is meditation, prayer, breath work, working out. Because after traumatic events, especially addiction that goes on for years, our nervous system is very dysregulated, right? From living in fear, from living in panic, from having to have $20 just to breathe, right? Like from sleeping with like in jail, holding my glasses in my hand when I'm asleep, making sure somebody doesn't take my glasses in jail, which only had one lens anyways. But without them, it would have been even worse, like that's a terrifying way to live, right? Just constantly in fear. We're incredibly dysregulated. And you can't really take in more downloads like that without getting your nervous system regulated. And through recovery, we meditate. It's part of, it's often a part of what is suggested. It's definitely a part of what's suggested in 12-step. And so I was only even doing that meditation that my client gave me because I was in recovery. That's when I got that download, right? I wouldn't have been doing that without recovery. So again, that was an accident. But emotional regulation, something that allows you to just like slow down and get out of fight or flight and move into a more receptive state, So that's the second process. And that can be, working out. Therapy is a form of, emotional regulation, tapping, all those things. And that disclosure is when you start talking about it, is when you start actually sharing your stories and allowing someone to bear witness to your story. That's the third step.
And what do you find that's healing about that when you start sharing your story? I think a lot of people I've run into, they're like, well, I don't want to share my story because it's no one's business. I don't want to share my story because I don't want someone to use it against me.
Yeah.
I don't want to share my story because I don't want to put other people down. But I see that sometimes end up hurting the person because now I'm like, you're not talking about it at all because you're so worried about all these things.
Right.
Then now you're the one that's suffering in
Right.
silence.
So I think a couple of things. So like the examples you just gave really keep somebody in ego, which is never a place for spiritual growth, right? Like, so if your fear is people are going to use it against me or I'm going to look bad, then you're operating from ego. And ego prevents you from helping somebody else. And the next step is actually service. But when we're in ego and when we're in fear and we're only worried about not sharing our story because of what it may do to us, one of the most basic human instincts is to help other people. You know that. And you prevent yourself from doing that. But even more than that, because that's sort of like the next level of things, right? You also don't have to share on the platforms that you and I do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just even sharing with like, there are like my husband, Skylar is, he did 2 episodes with me when he got a year, but I've unpublished them. He actually doesn't want them out there anymore. Not while he's looking for work. And he's, it's not his thing. And I totally understand that. His story is also much sadder than mine, but like he's not out there talking about things. You definitely don't have to be. We're lucky to be in this position. I teach fitness. And not only do I teach fitness, my longtime like business partner and friend, Jana, is very cool with everything I've ever said. If I'd been working with somebody else, I probably couldn't have. But if you work at a bank or you're like a lawyer or an investment guy, you might not want to share that you smuggled a meth pipe in your vagina into jail. Do you know what I mean? Like, I got that. So it can be much smaller too. And again, 12-step sets that up for you accidentally. If you have a sponsor and you sponsor people, you start sharing that stuff, meetings. And so again, accidentally, I didn't mean to, but after I felt more grateful, I started kind of slowly sharing a little bit at meetings. I would never even share at meetings. I would just sob, cry. I thought I didn't have anything to share. And then I even started sharing a little bit of my story at my studio in Encinitas. And this is a bougie studio. And this is very wealthy women. I was terrified for any of them to know that I was taking the bus or, everything I owned was from the donations bin at my shelter, Sober Living. And they were like head to toe, Lululemon, the newest. And I don't know what compelled me, but like it was a magical place too. That was another like gift from God that's where I landed because not every studio is like this. But I slowly started telling stories and they thought it was hilarious. Like these incredibly multimillionaire women would think my stories about my turtles. I don't know if I've ever told you I had those turtles when I was homeless and I would like walk them down the street and shit, like real tweakery stuff. They loved hearing about my turtles. And then like I just started sharing a little bit more and they would laugh. And what happens is it takes a lot of the weight out of it. You've discovered that, how many times you started sharing your story. And like 2 things happen. 1, it's not the end of the world when you share. And then 2, people come up to you and say, wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And it takes all of the shame out because you realize you have the ability to help alleviate someone else's pain. And that can't be shame. Those 2 things aren't aligned, right? And so I think it just, allowing someone to bear witness to your deepest, darkest traumas is one of the most foundational parts of most therapies. There's just a power in it. There's just a power in saying it out loud, And again, I didn't know any of that. I just slowly started talking in my meetings, And then the next step is service. And the service kind of can come out of disclosure or it can come in other ways. Like for me, sharing the stories at my studio, some of those women came to me and they're like, hey, like, I think my son is on heroin. Can you tell me what this picture is? And it's foil with a black line on it. And I'm like, ooh, he's on heroin. I'm sorry. Let's figure this out. I'm getting emotional right now thinking about it. And it was like being of service. And some of them didn't want to be, they would think they were drinking too much and they'd start telling me that and they'd do dry January because they met me. You know what I mean? Little things like that. Yeah, sober October, whatever, little things like that. And then, of course, also within 12-step, I started doing all this service work too, like volunteering for meetings and, doing this and that. I don't do nearly as much of it now as I used to. But, any sort of volunteer work, it just gets you out of yourself. And it also shows you what you're still capable of, right? Like anytime you help someone else, it takes you out of lamenting what you've lost And it becomes very clear to you what you still have,
Mhm.
right? Because you still have this, it allows you to take inventory of what you still have, and you can still help somebody else. And then also specifically, like, and this is, I keep using you as an example, your prime example of all of this is that you specifically gave back to men who had experienced the same thing. And then that gives your trauma new meaning.
Mhm.
It's no longer the thing that broke Fausto. It's the thing that elevated Fausto into this position where he can help so many.
100%.
Right?
Because I always say, like, and this is just my perspective, right? I think things that we go through or things that we've done, the pain never fully goes away, right? I believe there's a residue that exists because we need to remember how it felt or what it was like in order for us to speak to the pain. But what that means is, like you said, then you better start sharing your story in whatever capacity and being of service to people with it. Because if not, I believe when I'm not of service with my story or helping people, the traumas and the pain start to take over me again.
Yeah.
Because it's not what happened to you that's bad. It's how it affects you in the rest of your life, how you feel, how you see things, what you think about. And so, I think it's like confirmation that somebody says, like, thank you. Like when I spoke at the college in Maryland, I asked the dean, I was like, well, what am I allowed to say at a college? Like, I don't, it's not an AA meeting.
Oh, it's a college? That's what it is that you're going to?
Well, no. So when I did an East Coast tour.
Oh, okay.
So I spoke all over DC,
I thought
Maryland,
you meant the thing
Delaware.
that's coming up. Okay.
And it was a college, and they're from 18 to 27 was like the mid. There's like 500 plus students in there. And, it's Maryland. I don't know. I mean, you might know more of that area, right? Because you're Georgia, but at least East Coast over there. And I shared super raw.
Yeah.
And the Q&A lasted an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And this one girl goes, hey, like my dad molested me. My mom knows, and she stood with him. How do I let that go? You know what I mean? And so, it's my vulnerability gave the student had the capacity to be so open with people. And I think that's what it's about.
Well, and it gives the event new meaning for you. Like now it became not this horrible thing that happened, which of course it still was, but you can look back on it as, okay, it gives it a different value. And that's one of the reasons why it moves this is how we get to post-traumatic growth, because you can say, yes, that happened, but I now have the ability to speak to all of these people. That's growth. That's actually positive in my life. And the same thing with me, all of those awful things that happened. And
what do you feel like is like the most difficult one for you to live with? That you catch yourself like, man, like, and you're so grateful that you can help people with it because you're like, thank God, like, again.
So the thing that's the hardest for me to live with is something I don't ever, it's very, vain. I have all these scars from picking. I have not ever come to a place where I'm okay with it. I hate it. And I don't ever like show them without makeup on or anything like so that I do no service with, Something I do talk about though, I would say that was the hardest is Hep C. That was because when I was diagnosed, there was no cure. Now there's a cure. I don't have it anymore.
Yeah, it was like a pill, right? You take.
Yeah, you take it for 3 months.
Yeah.
It's a miracle. And then you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And that was never the case. Everybody, not everybody, but you most likely are going to die from liver cancer if you have Hep C.
Oh, wow.
And there's like, people think it's an STD and it's not actually sexually transmitted. It's blood to blood, but like people don't know that. And, I didn't want to have that conversation with people. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of shame around that. But now that is something I do talk about because there are people, like even on my Soft White Underbelly, someone said at the very end, I said something like, if one 32-year-old out there who has Hep C and thinks she's never going to get married sees this, great. And then someone wrote in the comments, I'm 32 and I have Hep C and I don't know what to do. And I was like, there's a cure. There's a bunch of different ones. They're covered by insurance. And like, she didn't even know. So probably the Hep C, I would say actually, was one of the hardest things to hold. Also because it was so dumb. I think I got it like almost not intentionally, but, and I don't know if this is when it happened, but I was like staying at, it's the only time I've ever been like afraid in my addiction. I was staying at this place and it had been taken over. There was this older guy that lived there that was a drug addict and he had let like the Connect and a couple of guys stay there. And then when he wanted them to leave, they just wouldn't. And I was part of that. And so I just wasn't leaving and they weren't leaving. And it was very scary people, and they were gone and I was supposed to watch the guy, right? And he was an addict too. And my rig clogged, my needle clogged. And I was like, let me use your needle. just sharing needles with abandon, which I did do, like a lot. And I said, just let me use your needle. And he was like, no, I have Hep C. And I lied and said, I do too. That's how much I wanted to use his needle. And to be honest, for all I know, I already did. But I kind of don't think so. I kind of think this is when it happened. And he said, well, you've never mentioned that before. And I'm like, we've never had a conversation about Hep C in the trap house. It's never come up.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right. And he just handed me his needle. This man I didn't know. This older dude, longtime junkie. And I just drew up and used it.
Insanity, right?
Yes.
It's insane how in our addiction, like logic, morals, dignity,
consequences,
everything's just gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's
I didn't
crazy.
care. He could have HIV. He could
yeah,
have HIV.
And we probably said the same thing. I have HIV too then.
Yeah. Like, because there's such a stigma around HIV, if he had said that, I would have not done it. I would have smoked it instead. You know what I mean? And I feel bad for the HIV community because they've gotten stuck with this stigma that they shouldn't have, because Hep C will actually kill you sooner. You know what I mean? But there's such a stigma around. I don't know if you've watched like the Charlie Sheen documentary, any of that stuff.
Came out recently,
it's
right?
so good. You have to watch it. But there's way more. The reality is HIV is now like diabetes. I mean, it's a lifelong comorbidity. You don't die any sooner. But I will say, because, you know, especially in the community of criminal activity and drug addicts, HIV is a very like looked down on thing. You know, you have to house separately in jail. It's a whole fucking thing, right? And so if he had said, but I still knew that bleach kills HIV, but not Hep C. So everybody bleaches their needles, but everybody in the community has Hep C and no one cares. And that's actually going to kill you sooner. So, but he could have I didn't bleach that needle though. He just handed it to me. Did I? God, I don't think I did. We didn't have bleach there. I was just sitting on the couch.
You got time. You just want to get high.
No, I mean, I probably rinsed it with water. That's it, you know? But like, and so I think that too was hard because I took it on myself. Like I just gave myself Hep C. So that one was harder. But then, in 2018, I actually got the cure, which was amazing. Side note, the cure, I lost like 10 pounds while I was on the cure. So it was also fantastic. Yes.
All right,
so
guys,
if anybody's holding off,
and Hep C,
you'll lose like 15 pounds.
And get
plus
rid of it.
So do not wait on that shit. Yeah. I was like, damn, they should have told me this. But anyways, service, giving back. And then the fifth part is constructing a new narrative. And all of those things get you to the new narrative, right? The disruption of the core belief, maybe that's not true.
Right.
The emotional regulation allows you to take in new information, new beliefs about yourself, new self-esteem, right? Service also gives you self-esteem. Disclosure, you're sharing things with people. You're seeing that it's helping them. It's taking the pain out of it. Service, you're able to give back. You've become someone that can contribute in your community after you took from everyone. That's invaluable for your self-esteem. And all of that leads to this new narrative, which is no longer, I didn't graduate from college, so I'm a loser, to, wow, that heroin addiction made me so much more qualified to help people and to be grateful and to see views. Man, I'm actually really glad that that happened. And that's how trauma goes from PTSD to PTG to growth.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's the process. I'm glad you asked. No one has asked me that yet.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, and I love talking about it. And I get it. People want to hear about me bringing the meth pipe in my vagina to jail.
Drugs,
I understand.
War stories.
Yeah, I get it.
We talk about
I
all
like
the
that
time,
stuff
though.
too.
Yeah.
But those stories I've told a million times.
Yeah.
But the process for PTG, I mean, somebody watching this, you can break that down yourself and start to ask yourself, okay, I'm so ashamed about XYZ. Why? What is the core belief that I have from my childhood that is leaving me feeling that I am less than? You know?
Yeah. It's wild because you see that a lot with people too, right? It's like our childhood dictates so much.
A lot.
Based on what we think what we were supposed to do, based on our perception, or maybe somebody was telling you.
Yep.
I always say there's a lot of people right now too that are living to please their parents, and their parents are not even around anymore.
Right.
And they're still trying to please their parents without them even knowing it too sometimes. Like, I don't do that, but it's like you care so much about all these things because you think that's the truth. Yeah. When it is just their opinion.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
How do you help somebody then? Let's say somebody's watching this right now and they hear what you're saying and they go, yeah, but my trauma is different. Trust me, there's no reason it should have happened. No. It's just the worst thing. You know, life must hate me. The world's a bad place. God's not real. Like, no, I'm not going to talk about this. Yeah. I'm angry at it. It's ruining my life. How do you get through to that person?
So I totally understand that. And I think that this particular pathway of therapeutic healing isn't necessarily for everyone. Because there are, and I actually struggled with this before I even really started talking about this, because the reality is, I haven't been raped or sexually assaulted, or, I've been punched in the face once. Well, she hit me with like a 2x4 and I threw my hand up. But like, there are way worse things that have happened to people, really. Mm-hmm. And I asked several friends, like my friends that had things like that happen, could you possibly ever say this about your awful divorce? And what I learned was that most of those people said yes. Mm-hmm. But then also the primary study behind this studied death of children. There's a big study out of University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Death of your children, death in general, sexual trauma, having to immigrate from war zones, which is incredibly traumatic, cancer diagnoses, and I think there was something else. And that's where the study was developed. It found people that had happened to that felt there was growth on the other side. That said, that doesn't have to be your story to heal. Like, I'll use my husband again as an example. There is no way Skylar would say that some of what happened was good for him. None. And so I think that there are different pathways to healing where you don't have to let it define you, though, and end your life. Mm-hmm. You can absolutely say, no, that never should have happened. I'm sorry. I'm never going to be okay with it ever. But if you're willing to do maybe talk therapy or the brain spotting, mm-hmm. or
EMDR
hypnotherapy, EMDR. Yeah, there are a bunch of different ways past the place where it limits your life. And I think the goal is just, does this limit my life? And if it does, how can I get to a place where it no longer limits your life? And mm-hmm. it doesn't have to be that you ever consider it growth. I think it's a wonderful option for people to hear about. And especially when you can look back and say that it's happened, right? Like, there's also a time factor here, I think, where if you had brought this to me, even though I had that glimpse of it at 90 days, I wouldn't have said it was good for a while. It was mm-hmm. 2018 when I heard the term. I remember where I was. I was working out at the Glute Lab in San Diego, which is this place where they have like all these famous like big booty models. And I was driving down to San Diego to try to prep for my wedding. Yeah. And I was sitting on the floor listening to this book called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Achor. And he talked about post-traumatic growth. And I was sitting in a booty builder thing on the ground. And I heard it in my headphones and I was like, oh my God, that's what happened to me. It was better. My heroin addiction was better. And I remember calling my dad and I was like, is it crazy if I'm like grateful for what happened? And he was like, no, Nanner, not at all. And I was in therapy at the time. And I told my therapist that too. And she was like, no, that's not crazy. I've got cancer patients that are much happier after it happened. They got mm-hmm. happier. And so, but I had 3 years clean when that happened. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was engaged to this guy. I lived in a beautiful townhome. I had a car. I don't know that you're going to be receptive to hear it sooner. And again, I don't think it's necessarily the only pathway. And I'm actually glad that you asked that too, because I do want to be really careful about that, because mm-hmm. I never want to suggest that, no, it doesn't matter what happened to you. You should make it better. Mm-hmm. That's not for me to decide. And that certainly isn't always the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe like I you said, there's so many different ways to heal. And, again, your perception is the perception I have, right? It works for me.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page.
It works for me. But I do wonder, because it is fascinating when you find somebody with a very terrific, very, very crazy story, and they're like, no, I'm grateful. I'm like, okay, so that I would be one I'd probably not even try to have someone think that, but you do.
Yeah.
So it means it does work still.
It does? Oh, yeah.
And I think it does work.
It's available.
If you choose it to work.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, though, if that way, though, and it's just an opinion, I wonder if that way is the deepest form of healing. Because, sometimes you see people that don't see it like that. And they're good people, and they're sober, and yeah, but something about them, they seem a little bit still like almost like there's still some pain in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's still some low frequency in you because you still get triggered by certain things.
Yeah.
And I'm always wonder if if you were just to kind of explore that, I wonder what your life would look like.
Right.
But who knows, right?
Right. I mean, I will say, I'll use my mom as an example, mm-hmm. right? My mom got divorced from my dad. She was 42, and it was bad. Like, her situation, I don't even mean they're divorced mm-hmm. or the two of them. But now that I've gotten older, when I look back at her life, so she was married to this like wealthy guy, pilot, good looking guy, athlete, amazing father. He can build anything. Like, she scored on husbands. Mm-hmm. And then he left, and she was alone at 42. And, it's a different generation. She didn't like work out all the time like I did. She didn't want to get Botox or dye her hair. And I remember her crying, and she hadn't worked in a while. And I remember her being like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I remember being like, I don't either. Like, I don't either, bro. I don't know what you're going to do. Yeah. And she was like, do you think anybody's going to marry me again? And I remember being like, I don't know, But what I will say, she was devastated, brought her to her knees. She will say, my mother has become, so she did get remarried, I don't know, 5-6 years later. Yeah. She is like the happiest person I've ever known. She's way happier now than when she was married to my dad. I'd be way happier. Her husband is perfect for her. She got married in her late 40s. Like she did meet someone. Mm-hmm. He worships her. He thinks she's incredible. And I asked her that, can I say, because I think about you when I think about trauma, are you grateful? You can't be, right? And she was like, no, I totally am. I'm so sorry for what happened to you and your brother and what you guys went through. Divorce is never pleasant, but yeah, like you could put me in that category. And so I think of her too. She's just got a deep like happiness and peace around her. And I have another good girlfriend who went through a divorce and it was really bad. And there's an underlying anger that has never gone away.
And we see it. You
know what I mean? Yeah. And
so it's like when someone says like, oh, I've already let that go. And it's like, just the way you're saying it.
God, like you seem really angry though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and like I said, I know it might sound silly, but my scars, man, I'm not grateful about that at all.
So that's one that really bothers you.
Huh? It bothers me so much. Mm-hmm. I hate it. I can't believe I'm even talking about it right now. Mm-hmm. I like want to pull my hair forward, So like, and I know that's a dumb thing compared to assault.
Yeah. But
it's on my face. I did it to myself. Yeah. It happened in jail. It's disgusting. You know what I mean?
And I think that's the thing where we don't compare. It's just it bothers you.
It bothers me.
Like I'll say something I've never said on camera, but I'm getting surgery in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I did a bunch of steroids when I was 18 years old, very incorrectly. And I started shooting out milk out of my nipples.
Oh, no.
I started lactating. And I thought it was cool.
Wait, now or back then?
When I was 18.
Oh.
I was 18 years old. I'm 33, not 18.
Well, no, I know, but I thought you meant the milk thing happened now.
No.
It happened back then.
So I was 18. I thought it was funny. We're doing drugs, drinking, squirting milk on my friends. Like, oh, that's tight. Foster shoots milk out of his nipples. Well, what ended up happening was I developed gyno.
Oh, no.
So I developed, I had a growth in there. And I remember that's why I don't go to the beach.
Oh.
I don't really, I don't go swimming.
Okay.
And it was because I don't like the beach. I don't like swimming. No, it's because of the gyno, right?
Oh, wow.
And so for me, it's pissing me off so much. It's annoying. Yeah. I lose weight. Nothing's happening. So in 2 weeks now that I have the money, I'm going to get the surgery.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for sharing that right now.
Trust, it was, oh my gosh. That's why I only wear Built shirts.
Wow.
Because Built has a thicker fill.
Okay.
So it kind of covers it. But there were some shirts I would be like, look at the videos. I'm like, oh my God, look at that video. You can tell.
Yeah.
So
you get it. That's not something you can look back on and say that you're grateful for, but like,
thank God I can get surgery for it.
But now you can do that.
But you
right.
See what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm someone that's like, hey, I don't care how much it is. I'll pay for it.
And I paid for a bunch of medical tattooing at one point on my face, and like, I don't know. It's a whole, it's like.
Is there something you can do for it? Like, have you found certain types of
creams?
No,
so I'm trying to. So white scars are the only thing that don't go. You can do anything. Black scars, brown scars, you can get rid of. Everything else you can get rid of. White scars are like very difficult to repigment. Although I did recently, there's like sort of a newer theory that, Latisse that grows your eyelashes.
Mm-mm.
It's like it's an eyelash growth serum.
Okay.
They have found that if you microneedle with Latisse, it can repigment the skin sometimes. So I recently got some Latisse and I'm just doing it on my own because it's really expensive. Mm-hmm. So I just bought like a dermastamp on Amazon and I'm just dermastamping myself on Sundays. Actually, I'll do it tonight and then putting the Latisse. So I'll let you know if it works.
Would GHK work on it?
I don't know. That was one of the reasons why I was interested in that.
I have the face cream now.
Okay. I remember we were talking about that. I would love to try that actually. So it might.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it might. And I'm hoping the NAD, while I'm doing that, or all the other things would help.
Care of it,
yeah, exactly.
It's funny. I have pigmentation all over my body. I got it recently.
Dark or light?
Light, white.
Oh.
White spots.
See what I'm saying?
I don't know if you can tell, but I have them. I'll show you though, but I have them on the back of my arm. It's all up. It's really bad.
Is it annoying?
It's annoying.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was about to get the surgery for this, and then I'm like, are you serious, God?
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to get this, and now I have this. And so I bought pigmentation pills. I can't remember what they're called.
Okay.
I'm taking 2 pills every morning.
Okay.
I bought this type of, I forgot what it is. It's like some type of like a lotion type of thing for that. I've been putting it on every day, doing that, and it's actually working.
Oh, really?
Thank God, because I was trying
well, then I want to
did
see what it
muesli, I tried
is.
muesli, but it was black spots.
Yeah.
So then it didn't
Everything is
work.
for dark pigment.
Yeah, I couldn't find white. So I found these things. They're pills, a cream, and I've been doing that, and it's actually working. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep on
well,
doing
show
it.
me all the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll let you know if the microneedling
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, just so you don't feel alone in that.
I'm glad you shared that.
We're healing in this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love that. You know, I think being able to find purpose in our pain, it's a beautiful thing that you got on a TED Talk. You got to kind of share it to the crowd of people and stuff like that. Because I think people need that. Not everybody's going to have the ability to have AA meetings. So think about it. We go to Tony Robbins events basically for free.
Yep.
And they're everywhere. It's the same talk.
Yes.
People go, Tony Robbins, you heard he said about beliefs? That's in the AA.
Right.
You heard he said about acceptance is the answer to all your problems? That's in page 417.
Yeah.
He talks about you got to forgive everything.
Yeah.
Step 4.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you did a TED Talk on it because you give people the opportunity that will never step in a room of AA to hear something.
To come across it in a different way.
To them, it's like, you know, like, who is this woman? How did she say that? Wow.
Mm-hmm. And the 12 steps are designed for living. I mean, they're designed for any problem, in my opinion. And like I said, like they accidentally walked me through. I mean, those 5 steps they're built into the 12 steps, right? Like when you lead at meetings or when you sponsor somebody, there's your disclosure. You're supposed to do service at meetings. There's your service. A 4th step, that's when you start to unpack the narratives. It's just there. They ask us to meditate. That's the emotional regulation. Right. So like, I think that's why so many, I've actually never really thought about this, but you know, so many people in meetings, that's where you hear people say, I'm grateful for whatever happened.
Yeah.
It's probably because inadvertently their step work created this PTG.
Yeah, we have to, right?
You know?
It's part of the things. If you have any resentment, you will go back out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's almost like that's why I always tell people when people meet people like us that are not in recovery, they always say, man, you're just the kindest people I've ever met. Yeah, because we have to live a certain way or we will die.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that pressure on them. That's why some people can live with their negative behaviors. They can live in toxic relations. They can live being a bad or unhealthy person their whole life because death isn't chasing you. Death is chasing us. If I live like that, I will die. Yeah. Whether I'm going to take my own life or drugs are going to take it.
That's a good point.
So,
and I had to get to that place. I wasn't going to make any changes. You know, I mean, think that's the other reason why I am grateful for my heroin addiction. I wouldn't have made any of these kinds of changes. If I had been able to graduate from that fancy school and go to law school, I don't think I would have made it. Why would I have? Life had been so easy from beginning to end. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I would have made these changes. Maybe. But, you know. I don't have to wonder. I had the opportunity to choose life because my addiction put death on the table. Yeah. And I had to choose life.
The blessing in it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Before we get to our closing questions, there's a topic we talked about personally. And I won't go too much into detail about it, but we could both relate to it. Okay. How do you, because we talked about it, right? Like, we're trying to help a lot of people, right? We're trying to brand ourselves. You have a podcast, you have an Instagram, you're speaking and stuff like that. You know, you donate your time everywhere, you know, and you're somebody that's not, you don't ask for money. You're like, I just do it to help people, right? Like it's a thing who you are. Like, I'll show up, I'll speak, I'll do that, right? How do you like not give up on trying to build yourself when you try to make it about the people, when sometimes you see that like there's other people in our lives that maybe do it a different way, and they're getting success, they're getting noticed, they're getting paid, all this stuff. And you're just like, man, like I feel like I'm trying so hard being a good person, but I'm just not getting that. I'm not getting that door opened. I'm not getting that moment that's going to change my life. Yeah. Like, how do you not give up on yourself? Or, you know what? I'm just going to do it that way then. I'm going to just sell my soul, not sell my soul, but I'm going to go a different route to play the algorithm, to play the game. Like, how do
I do try. Yeah. You're giving me too much credit. I absolutely try to I try to fucking boost the algorithm. Yeah, like I'll say stupid hooks at the beginning of videos because some IG, some Instagram person coach said use these hooks. You'll see me using them, as inauthentic as they feel. I try. Yeah. Now, speaking wise, something like this, a podcast is different. Right now, the industry is framed around we just kind of do each other's shows and there's a mutual benefit there. Speaking wise, though, I would prefer to get paid. You know what I mean? For sure. I do wish the podcast was, more financially successful. And I'll be honest with you, it's really hard not to give up. I mean, there are so many times when I feel like, why am I even doing this? It's still not making any money. It's been all these years. So I actually don't even have the answer to that. I don't even know why I don't give up. I mean, I think, God, I don't know why. I mean, I think the reason why I don't is because I do know that there are people that are really listening because I get the DMs.
Yeah.
And I know it helps them. But I do think that I have some weird spiritual energy block around being able to make money that not everybody has. I think that's like one of my last things as in like earth school. Rich Roll calls it like earth school when you're like down here learning lessons. One of the things in earth skill I think earth school that I'm supposed to learn is how to release my money blocks, because other people, you're right, are just doing what I'm doing, and they like have a lot of money. They don't have the same concerns that I do. So I actually don't have a great answer for that. I mean, I'm trying to.
What do you think your money blocks are then?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if maybe it's because I've been broke for so long. I'm just used to it because I got, when I quit school, when I quit college, my dad cut me off at 20 years old and never, ever, 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 ever give me $1 again as long as I lived, which is common. I mean, I guess it's not common, but even like birthdays, we get a little bit. But like I started struggling a really long time ago, and I think I didn't expect it. I thought I was going to be famous in LA. I thought I was going to be like a famous actress, and like that didn't happen. And I was like scrounging by waiting tables. I think honestly what it really comes down to is I don't think I'm as good as other people at doing things. Like I don't think I should get the money that other people do. Like I'm always really surprised when the woman that was here asked, like, I used to have a co-host, but I don't now. Yeah. The reason I didn't ever do it alone is because I was like, why would anybody listen to me? Like I have to have Nate. He's good looking and funny. Nobody would listen. This isn't going to be a success on its own. Like I'm not good at this. I did an episode of, my friend Dave's show, Dopey, and someone listened to it and reached out to him and wanted to send a couple of people to me, someone that's kind of big in the industry. And he told me, and I'm like, God, why? Like I did not do good in that episode. I don't think I did that well in my Soft White Underbelly, And
look how many views it got.
I know.
That's a lot of views for a YouTube video on his channel. It gets more than my video got. I think most people that I've sent, you get the most. Yeah. Besides maybe one person. Like that's good.
Yeah, I know. And I saw that, they usually hit, 70, 80, 90, something like that, right? And there's that 300. And I will say that all the comments are mostly good too. That has given me a little bit of a boost of self-esteem because I was a little bit worried that I was going to get bad comments. And I know we shouldn't look at the comments good or bad, but it's human to do it. Of course. But I don't even think I did good on that. I'm like, how does anybody think that this is good? This is like the worst speech I ever. It's not speech, but like, it's not good. I don't think my TED Talk was good. I've seen the first draft. I don't think it's good.
TED Talk was great.
It's a fucking snooze fest. Oh, that's right. You went.
Yeah.
But I've sent it to people who think it's good. So I think I've got this weird, you know what I think it is? I didn't finish. I think that core belief still shows up in ways, and it's like, you might kind of be good at this addiction stuff because you were a junkie that lived under a bridge, but you're not actually someone that should like own a house. There's got to be some part there. I don't know.
Which I get, between me and you, I mean, it's the podcast, right? Between all of us, I'm the same way. Yeah. You know what I mean? For me, for example, when I was on the East Coast, they donated a house for me. They pay me a fuck ton of money. Yeah. I mean, a lot of money. I told you how much they paid me for 30 minutes of my time. And they're chauffeuring me everywhere. People are crying, open it. The city loves me. The city council. I mean, it was like a rock star. And when I was at the gym scrolling through my phone, I had a moment of being like, oh my gosh, dude, like, why didn't I get on this podcast? Like, wait, why am I not on there? Why did they? These are all my friends. Like, why didn't they ask me? Like, what's going on? Oh my gosh, like, why is everybody else getting followers? And and it's crazy to think like I'm like literally. So, you know what I mean? Because I used to think maybe if I get paid, it'll change everything. Yeah. And it changed nothing.
Really? See, I think if I get paid, it'll change for me.
That's what I thought before.
So I'll let you know if it doesn't. I'll let you know if it doesn't. I do think, and I'm fine admitting this, I absolutely think that money will bring me happiness.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I do.
Mhm.
I might be an evolved person and I can sit here and talk about post-traumatic growth and all
Yeah.
that shit, and I believe every word I'm saying.
Yeah.
However, I have been broke for too long. And my husband and I want us to be able to go on vacations and stuff. And it's funny that you say that, because I think if I get paid, it will solve. I don't think I'll care about followers anymore. So I'll let you know if I still do. That's interesting.
Yeah, because
and you thought you wouldn't care about that kind of stuff either after you got paid?
That's because think about it. When I got sober, so my mom made no money growing up, right? So I've never seen money. When I got sober, I was a bartender, but I wasn't getting a lot of shifts.
Right.
Yeah, my first job was making $15 an hour.
Right.
What is $15 an hour when you're getting taxed? That's nothing. Versus looking at other people's of course I'm lying to everybody how much I make at that point. I don't admit it. I don't even have a car. I'm driving my mom's car, but it's my car. No, it's not. I don't even have a license.
Right.
And then after that, my next job was $16 an hour. Wow, $1 raise. And then it was $19 an hour at 2 years sober. Then at 3 years sober, I was making $24 an hour. I thought I arrived. Right. But then I'm like, dude, 24, that's it. Like, that's nothing after taxes. And then think about it, 4 years sober, I think around the time. And then I made $100 an hour per group, okay. not 40 hours, right? So I was making maybe like $1,200 a week, right? Doing 12 groups. Then I couldn't handle that. So then I had to go down to 8 groups. I'm like, okay, I'm making $800. I'm like, how much is that? $800. Yeah. So I know what it's like. And I was like, but if I just make a lot of money, I know it's going to change everything.
You don't feel that way now, though?
So
because I know peptides are doing well, too.
So,
I don't know if you want to take all this out.
So like the most money I made in a month, I think for me was $50,000. That's insane. Which is insane, right?
I think I would become a happier person. I'm sorry.
I got the car. I got the DJ equipment I wanted. I paid for everything. I hired my mom. I'm good. But now I still feel the unworthiness.
Really?
And so
are you still making a lot monthly though?
I'm still making money. But it's I realized, I go, crap, I thought this was what's going to change the trajectory of my life internally. No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm tripping out still. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I still don't feel good enough. I'm like,
interesting.
Crazy. So
didn't it had to have made some stuff easier though. It had to.
So
have. You got to build this studio.
Yes, it made everything easier for sure. That's for sure. And I'm grateful for it, right? But
I love that you're being really honest about this right now.
But there's still that unworthiness.
Yeah.
Which
you think that's what it is?
I'll be honest with you. When I saw your Soft White Underbelly, but that many, I had a moment like, why did hers not mine? Like I was like, everybody. I was like, what is it, God? Like I'm just not meant to be. It's great. It's so crazy.
That's how I feel too.
It's insanity.
But that's how I feel because of the money. Because like one of the other shows, I won't call them out that we both know has been paying my girlfriends to go. Yeah. Right. I told you.
Yeah.
And I start thinking, God, why not me? Don't you want me to do this? But for me, it's the money, So hopefully after I actually make some money, I'll let you know, was I right? Was the money the last thing I needed? Yeah. It's just like the only person on earth who money will actually truly make me happy. I guess we'll see.
Probably not.
I think it will.
That's gonna help. It has
to help.
No, it helps 100%.
Yeah.
That's a tool that helps. But I think it's a good lesson when you have it.
It's interesting that you say that, though.
To be able to be like, okay, I still have this problem, and I need to be able to work on that.
Yeah.
You know what it is for me though? It's not the money. I learned it's not the money. Okay, it's opportunity. It's almost like It's almost like until I'm on Joe Rogan, maybe.
Sure.
Then I'm finally gonna.
I hear you.
Guys, I was on Joe Rogan, man.
I hear you.
I am better now. I'm better.
Yeah.
You make more money than me, but I was on Joe Rogan. You weren't.
Right.
And to me, that's considered I made it.
Right.
I think it's kind of like that. Like,
yes.
Kind of like you did a TED talk. Like, to some people,
yes,
might be like, once I get a TED talk,
I've
arrived. But maybe you did, and you're like, yeah, but I still feel like this.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's the money. So I'll just have to let you know.
Yeah.
I think for me too, although I've always felt this way, but also I think because Skylar is. Have you even met Skylar? You don't even met him, have you?
I've not like met him, but I saw him at
your
TED
he was at the TED Talk, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so he works so hard in construction. And has supported everything I've done from the beginning. Like, especially like right now, I'm not the manager full time anymore. It's only part time. And, the podcast isn't making money or anything like that. Occasionally I get like an ad here or there, but not really. And so for me also, I really want to be able to like, contribute because he just kills himself and still believes in me after all this time. And so there's that piece of it too. But before I met him, I felt the same way too. So it's not like this is some altruistic, I just want to be a good wife thing. Well, that's part of it.
Yeah, and I think it is, right? It's very, it makes you feel powerless.
Yes.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
because I am.
Yeah, because you're like, I can't. There's certain things I cannot
like if my
do.
car got towed from that parking lot, I would just have to live here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
we got a room
I can't
for
get
you.
it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could Uber home,
And
but I'd
trust
be
me,
screwed.
And I know that feeling.
I hate it.
I had that feeling until recently making myself. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Like even the other day, we had to put my, rest in peace. We had to put my cat down. Probably 2 days. We're gonna have to.
Oh no.
He got cancer. And I remember the vet goes 2 days ago. It's gonna be $1,200. And I remember before I'd be like,
Yeah.
I can't help my cat out. You know what I mean? So it was cool that I was able to. That's the cool part, right? So yeah. It does help take away that fear of like, I hope nothing breaks, hope nothing falls apart, because I'm screwed. I can't. That's been my whole life. I can't. That's why everything I have was always a use, a that, a this, a that, a that, a that, borrow. But just know that.
Okay, well, I'll let you know. Hopefully, I'll start making a bunch of money soon, and then I'll be like, Fausto, by the way, it did solve all my problems. Just
so you got other problems, Fausto.
I'll come back on the show. Yeah, exactly.
Let's interview you. But just know the money will come to you. You're such a good person. You have a great podcast. You're very charismatic. You're a great speaker. I think it's just God's timing, right? I think He's going to open up that door for you. Mine took 8 years. Yeah. But again, behind the scenes is what? I've been working my ass off trying to make. I've had so many failed things. But again, also the speaking gig that I got, I may never get it again.
Right, that's true.
So it's kind of like, because now my mind's like, what happens if that was the only time it's going to happen? Yeah.
But you've got the peptides now.
And
that's consistent.
And the peptide's doing good, right? Which is cool. But I still want it to be.
You want it to be the other thing
the
that's
other
paying
stuff,
you.
You know
right,
what I mean?
yeah.
To
I understand
see that I'm worthy of it.
I totally understand that.
But I do think people like me and you got to stick together.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because we kind of have the harder route.
Yes.
That's just what it is.
We just have. I know. Because you're right. And this is the kind of stuff I don't ever talk about. But somebody gave me a car, right? I've shared that. And that's one thing. I think I'm actually going to make an episode clearing up some of the comments under Soft White Underbelly, because a bunch of people, and in a way, this is a good thing. Have you looked at any of the comments? Probably not. A lot of them are like, she only got that studio in that car because she's hot. Things are easier for this hot girl. And I also don't even look that good in that video. So I'm like, fucking thank God. I would have killed the picture is so bad. Have you seen the picture?
It's supposed to look like that, though. That's the whole point. We're supposed to look like. We're supposed to look jacked up.
Do not consent. But the video is better. So it's fine. Yeah. But I want to make a video where I'm like, it is not because of anything. It was a woman that gave me the car, and it was because it was a mid-90s car in 2015. Yeah. It was her mother-in-law's who passed away. Yeah. And I was teaching her. I was her client. She loved me. I'd been her personal trainer for 7 months. Yeah. Somebody just give it to me. I earned it by working really hard. So I kind of want to make a little video about that. But what people don't know is that all she asked me for, it was her and her sister, actually. Her sister fixed it. There was something wrong with it mechanically, and then they gave it to me. I said, come on, I have to pay you guys. And she said, nope, just pay it forward. And Skylar and I gave someone a car a few years ago. I had a little car after that one died, and someone that he worked with at his company, they're Hispanic, and the girl, his sister or niece had escaped a really bad domestic violence situation, and she was taking the bus. She was 23, and she was taking the bus with 3 kids, all under 5, cleaning houses with no car. And we were going to sell my little car. And the guy was like, she can give you guys $1,000. And I talked to Skylar. I was like, hey, we're just going to give her that car, right? And he was like, of course.
That's cool.
And I gave her the car. But the not nice part of me is like, okay, I gave someone a car. God.
Right, I'm ready for the blessing.
Can you give me some money?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I get it.
Yeah, but I actually never, I should share that story only because it goes to show that you can pay it forward as an addict. Yeah. Right? But I don't share it because I never want people to think that I don't ever share it because I also forget it happened. I forget. My friend Kim reminded me recently. She was like, you should tell the story about the car. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was cool. Michelle and Rhonda gave me that car, blah, blah. And she was like, well, and then you guys gave someone. And I'm like, oh, that's right. She was like, Jeannine, that's the best part of that story. And I'm like, I forgot it happened. Yeah. But anyways, but then the shitty vain side of me, the selfish part of me is like, I did give somebody a car. I'm broke. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
but we do need to stick together. You're right.
Yeah, it's just what it is. I think that's why for me, I remember I made a post about it when I was in DC. I said, all I wanted in my life, for 8 years I was looking for it especially. I was like, when's that one man or woman that's successful that could open doors, going to just say, Fausto, I believe in you. Come with me. And they're just going to take me on tour. You're opening up for me. Yeah. Oh, hey, here's this person. You're going here. I never got that. I had good people come into my life in different ways. Yeah. But I was looking for that type. Okay. And then I realized I don't think I'm going to find that person.
Yeah.
I need to become that person.
Right.
So that's why for me, I go, you want to be on Soft White Underbelly? Here you go.
Yeah.
I did it for a couple of other of my friends. Another friend asked, like, I'll get you on. Like, I'll tell Mark.
Yeah.
Who really goes out of their way?
It is cool
right?
that you do that, by the way. Most
do
people don't do that,
They won't.
obviously.
Because they don't want money for it. They want to kind of like, oh, no, that's my
Or they
person.
just hold it back.
Hold it back, you know?
They just hold it back.
Breezy had Camp Soberfest, you know what I mean? I raised like $4,000+ from friends.
Did?
Yeah, friends.
Oh,
I asked for it,
nice
gave it to her. We scholarshiped a bunch of people. I donated about $15,000 worth of gifts. I didn't get $1. I didn't get one. Because some people say you raise money, you keep a cut. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
Oh, I've never done that. Yeah,
some people,
I didn't even know you
it's
could.
It's like a business model,
okay.
right? Like, you can raise $100,000, you keep 20%. It's like an actual normal thing people do. It's normal.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing, though.
So that's why I do that for people. But I think that's why we got to stick together because it's just, we have to help each other out.
Yeah.
Hey, I know that person. Here you go. I don't know if it's going to happen, or here, try this, try that, to help out.
Yeah.
That's just what it is sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? 'Cause sometimes like I have people that I see like, how'd you get that? And I'm like, oh, you have 1 million followers. Like that's why Justin Bieber's dad added you. That's why Boo Johnson added you. That's why I'm like, it's great. It's cool. I'm so proud. I'm like, but for me, it's like, that's not the route. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I might be one day.
That's how I feel too.
So I need to kind of have like the behind the scenes people like, hey, I know them. I'll introduce you to them.
Right.
I'll put a good word in for you.
Yeah.
That type of love.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Well, I'm glad you got me on Soft White Underbelly. That was cool.
Yeah, I'm glad. I told you, like, I'm glad.
I will say, I wish he had. He didn't. It's crazy to me that he doesn't like tag people and stuff though. That is wild to me. So he did.
Mm-hmm.
So he released it on a Friday.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, he texted me and said, because it didn't have my last name or any information. And people in the comments were like, who is this? And I was like, oh my God. And he's just not the kind of guy where you can like, you're not going to read, you know what I mean? Like, I think I did say, hey, if you get a chance, can you add my show to the thing? And then on Tuesday, he texted me and said, hey, your reel is doing really well on Facebook. What's your socials?
Yeah.
And I went and looked, and it's over like 2 million views on Facebook,
Wow,
but I wasn't tagged on it. And I was like, this nobody else in our industry would do that. But I wrote him back and I said, at Jeannine Coulter, and he added it in the video description, which that I know he doesn't even always do. My friend Amanda, no last name or anything. So I was grateful that he did do that. Yeah. And I'm hopeful that if somebody wants to find me, if you just, and I discovered this is so sad, but so hilarious. If you just Google the words Jeannine and heroin, your girl.
There you go.
That's all you have to look up.
your SEOs, Jeannine Heroine.
That's
watch.
it. Yeah, it's like, oh, you mean Jeannine Coulter in San Diego?
Yeah.
This bitch. Isn't that insane? Yeah. Just those two words, Jeannine and heroin. Yeah. In all the global world. Yeah. They're like, oh, you mean Jeannine Coulter?
Yeah, and just know he doesn't tag anybody.
Yeah, no, I know. And I knew that ahead of time.
Yeah.
I knew that ahead of time.
It's cool that he did that.
Yeah, I was glad he even reached out, actually. Yeah. I appreciated that. Yeah. And he's very nice,
he's super cool.
As you told me. Yeah. He's so nice. Like, he was, he's just really nice. At the end, he was like, I'm proud of you. Keep it up. Keep it up. I was like, thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Yeah,
and my dad's name is Mark.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, not funny. Hey. Yeah, it was sweet, though.
No, love that. But as we get to the end of this podcast, like again, I said, we're going to bring you back on for another episode because we can talk so much about a lot of stuff. My first question I ask everybody is, there it is. I forgot. What are 3 books that you would recommend to somebody to read that can completely change their life?
Oh, what a good question. The Midnight Library.
Ooh,
have you read it?
Yep.
It's so good. It will change your life. Like, I don't even want to tell anybody. The Midnight Library. You'll have to cut out the blank space while I'm thinking. The Midnight Library.
I leave it in there.
You are?
Yeah,
okay.
I leave everything in there.
Gosh, what else?
This one that zooms into your face slowly.
Don't.
Slowly.
Gabby Bernstein, Super Attractor.
Love that.
Is a really good one.
She's cool.
Dang. And then this is just so, this is not like a, this isn't life-changing, but, no, The Happiness Advantage, Sean Acor.
The one you're talking about.
Yes, right? That's actually the one I'm going to say. I was going to recommend a series, a fiction series that I read about a Scottish detective. It's so random, but it's so good, is what I was going to say. But yeah, The Happiness Advantage, Sean Acor.
Super Attractor.
Super Attractor, and the Midnight Library.
Mm-hmm.
I was gifting the Midnight Library to people for a while. It's just so good. I mean, talk about looking over your life and thinking like, this was the best path. I mean, it's just beautiful. I'm glad you know what I'm talking about. That's good. Do most people have 3 answers for that question?
Everybody does. Besides, I had one person that's like, I don't read books. I was laughing. I was like, hey.
Because Skylar would not have 3 answers for you. I'm thinking like, you know what I mean? Like, it's rare that people even read anymore. It's cool to me that your guests have all had 3 answers. Yeah. Are they usually self-help book or are they like fiction book?
We've had people, some people say like, Bible. People will say, well, the AA books. We have people, and then other ones are always self-development. Self-development, Think and Grow Rich is, I think we had Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, that's a really good one too.
Art of War, like with different stuff like that.
That's cool that people can reference books like that. Yeah. Most people that I'm friends with could not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even mean that disparagingly. Nobody reads anymore. The only reason I started reading again is because of my Kindle. It just made it so much easier. I got like the cheapest Kindle that you can get. It's $80. I bought it years ago. And I have the Kindle Unlimited. It's $12 a month. And you can read as many books as you want. It's very cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had anything to give you just now.
You're like, nothing. My next question is, what was one mindset shift that completely changed your life? I know we kind of talked about a huge one. Yeah.
So when I had about, 10 days or something, I was still kind of dope sick. I'd come back from, I know you know a little bit about my story. I kicked cold turkey at my friend's house out at 29 Palms, my friend who's a Marine, and then he brought me back to this sober living. And I was at the McDonald's and I saw a guy that I used to use with. And he was like, hey, where the fuck you been? And I was like, oh, like around. And I was real kind of cagey about it because I thought maybe I'd want to use again, And he was like, well, come on, I got a shot in here for you. Come on, get your ass in here. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll be right back. And I ran out of the McDonald's and I literally like ran up the hill to my sober living. And I was like so afraid because I really wanted to do it. And I ran up the hill and my sober living house manager was standing outside. He was actually at my TED Talk too, my friend Steve. He was standing outside smoking a cigarette. And I like ran up to him and we'd had a very combative relationship. He had a very the behavior modification approach.
Oh, yeah.
And also he'd had to kick me out twice for selling heroin in the laundry room. So, I was running up the hill and he saw me smoking. I'm sure he's like, this bitch. I'm like, okay, you know what? And I think I'm making the right choice here. I'm like, I'm just going to tell him. Normally I wouldn't tell him. I'd probably just go back. Or I definitely wouldn't tell him. But I ran up and I'm like, Steve, I just saw so-and-so in the bathroom because he knew him too. And he was going to give me a free shot of heroin. But I didn't do it. Here I am. I'm doing the right thing. I'm telling you what happened, but like, I just keep thinking a free shot of heroin. It's free. Like no one should turn down free heroin, And I remember he put the cigarette out and he said, that shit isn't free. What has that cost you in your lifetime? That's actually the worst return on investment a human being can make. That isn't free. And I said, yeah, you're right. Okay. You're right. It's true. It's not free. Fine. So I went up to my little apartment. And he came up behind me like 10 minutes later and he said, you know what, I'm not done with you. And I remember thinking, of course you're not done with me. What? And he started to lay into me again. And I was like, Steve, he'd been a crack addict. I said, Steve, and he had like, 10 years. I said, if somebody offered you free crack, you would think about it for a second. Do not tell me you wouldn't think about it for 1 second. I know that you would. And he said, no, that would never happen to me. That would never happen to me because I've taken a stand in this community and people know who I am. And that would never even happen to me. You have been a criminal and you've been involved in a criminal and an addict lifestyle for so long, you have got to pick a side. You can't ride the line where you're talking to these guys anymore. You're like the little kid that falls asleep on the edge of the bed and keeps wondering why she's rolling out in the middle of the night. You need to be all the way up against the wall when you sleep. You have got to pick a side. And he walked out. And for some reason, something about that, about picking a side, struck me because he was right. I always still wanted to talk to those guys and make the gangster guys my friends and still talk to them. And they're my good homeboys. and what I will say is that to some extent, that's true. Like, I don't love when drug counselors are like, those people weren't your friends. They want you to die. Like, that's not necessarily true. None of those guys wanted me to die. Yeah. But what is true is that their life choices no longer align with my life goals.
Yeah.
And I'm too close to continue to have a foot in that world.
Right.
And so what it looked like for me was I deleted all those people from Facebook. I deleted their contacts from my phone. And I finally took a commitment at a meeting, which I had never done in all my years of trying. I took a commitment and I was like, you know what? You need to be the person in the fucking sober living that is not the first go-to if you relapsed, and you need to know how to pass a drug test because everybody knows, go ask Jeannine. And I'll be like, fuck, what are you going to do? Yeah, I'll help you. You need to pick a side. You need to be like the recovery girl. Mm-hmm. And that was massive for me when that happened.
I love that's powerful. And then this one's a funny one.
Okay.
What is the worst piece of advice someone's ever given you?
Buy my studio. No, I'm just kidding. That was a great thing that I did, actually. Dang, I don't know.
Like example for me, I always share with people is like probably the worst advice someone gave me is like, hey, you need to kind of tone down who you are. Like you're a little bit too much. And that made me think that like I had to, I got to dress like this. I got to read the newspaper. I got to talk more like this. I got to be more serious. I can't, go this route. And that just led me down a path of trying to be someone I'm not, And so for me, that was like the worst advice that was the worst advice someone's ever told me.
I have had, but I haven't really listened to it recently. But I sort of have in a subconscious way. Recently, like someone that I'm close to that I really respect will just sort of make fun of like influencer reels and stuff in general. Mm-hmm. And it has affected me putting mine out a little bit, actually, which it shouldn't. Mm-hmm. But and I still kind of do things, but I think it's gotten in there a little bit. Mm-hmm. God, other than that, I don't know what I mean. I shouldn't say things most of the time, actually, a lot of times. Like if I get in an argument with like a girlfriend or something, like I'll just keep going. And if there's someone in my life that's like, you should say something, I probably shouldn't, actually. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for me, it would be a little bit of the opposite of that. Okay. But that's an interesting question. I might have to think about that. I don't know because like you could say it might have been bad advice for me to actually like quit school and go to LA, but it wasn't ultimately, Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
think about that.
Next time for sure.
Yeah.
And then the final question is, let's say there's somebody right now that's suffering and hopeless and they just feel broken. Like I'm never going to be able to accept what happened to me in my life. Jeannine, I'm broken. You have 1 minute with them. What would you want to tell them?
No one is broken. No one is broken. And when you feel broken, it prevents you from stepping into alignment with what your purpose here on earth is. And you don't have to believe in God to believe that you have a purpose. Like, there's a difference between you and a rock. You know that, right? And there's something inside of you that wants more. And, I believe that everybody has a purpose on earth and we're missing you. Like there's a blank space in society where like you're supposed to be in your skill set. And so even if you're not at a place where you can see healing as being good for you, see healing as being good for the world. Like we need you. And when you're living down here, you can't possibly give back and find your spot in the world. And you are needed and you are loved and no one is broken. And it's very likely that what you think broke you will actually become your biggest asset. And just start the process of following your curiosities. This doesn't even have to be some big thing where you're like, what's my true purpose? Find something you're interested in and just start pursuing your curiosity. And I think the closer you get to what you love, the more you start to become who you are. Follow your curiosity, follow what you love to do, and we need you.
It's beautiful.
That's what I would say.
Thank you for that. Well, now where can people find you for your social medias, your podcast?
Oh, that's the other thing. My dumbass on Soft White Underbelly didn't say the name of my show. Yeah, which I could have just done. All of it over.
Oh my God, you forgot?
Can you believe that? Nope.
Dude.
I only mentioned it once. My show.
Yeah.
I mentioned, you know why though? I was talking to Dave about this because Dave is maybe going to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he said, yeah, but if he doesn't tag him, and I'm like, no, you're smarter than me. You're going to say dopey 1,000,000 times, right? And he was like, oh, of course. I'm like, right. And he was like, you didn't? I'm like, nope. I only mentioned my show once because the studio is my recovery life.
Yeah.
I talked about my studio that I sold, but not my fucking show. Anyways, Chasing Heroine, heroin with an E, And at just my first and last name everywhere, at Jeannine Coulter on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, everywhere.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll be sure to plug in your.
Or you could just Google Jeannine Heroine.
That's right. We talked about that, guys. Jeannine Heroine
Jeannine,
keywords,
the word
and
heroin.
you will find Jeannine.
And it'll
Coulter.
be like, oh, Jeannine Coulter, you must mean. I'm crazy. Anyways, yeah, Jeannine Coulter and Chasing Heroine, heroin with an E, because my whole thing is that heroin addiction led me to become the hero of my own story, which is why Chasing Heroine led me to my inner heroine. So that's the name of the show.
I love that. And I just want to say thank you so much for driving out here all the way from San Diego.
Yeah, thank
you. Traffic, car crash, and rain. Still here. I just appreciate who you are and everything that you do.
Thank you.
We need more people like you in this world that are real and authentic and funny and just, you're just so, I don't know, you just say everything about you. You have no, you're not trying to, hide who you are
I try.
or try to be someone that you're not. You know what I mean?
Well, right back at you. I love you so much, Fausto. I'm so glad we could. How did we even meet? Oh, I guess Nate. I guess we met through Narcan Nate, right?
Wasn't Nate?
And I'm just, he said, my friend Fausto wants to come on the show. And I said, all right, what's his Instagram? And I was like, he jumps rope. Book him. I think that's how we met. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think it was originally through Nate.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah. And I love you too. I'm so glad that we got to do this. And, everything you just said right back at you. The world needs more of you. You're like just this sincere guy,
And I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to our cycling
podcast. Yes. Yes, you got to tell me a little bit more about what you want on that, but I'll set you up on the bike and it's going to be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you so much.